Imagine giving birth in a blizzard. No hospital, no heat. Just ice, wind, and the will to survive. Sounds like ancient history, right? But for many Inuit women, this is still reality, and childbirth is only the beginning. To keep their families alive, they sew clothing from caribou skin, raise children in -71 degrees Fahrenheit cold, and carry centuries of culture on their backs. Literally. This is not just survival, it's strength, tradition, and the hardest job on Earth. So, what's it really like to be an Inuit woman? The Inuit people have been living in the Arctic for thousands of years. It is an ultimate survival challenge, except there's no prize money at the end, just the constant need to stay alive in the world's most unforgiving environment. The cold isn't just something that happens in winter, it is a way of life. In the old days, the Inuit relied on their deep knowledge of the land and animals around them to survive. Women, in particular, played a huge role. They don't just sit around waiting for the men to come home with food. They go out there too, hunting, fishing, gathering, and making sure their families stay warm and fed in a place where getting cold is literally a life or death situation. Clothing is one of the most important tools in their survival, which is not just for warmth, but a whole system designed to battle the cold with precision. Their clothes are crafted from nature, skins and furs from seals, caribou, polar bears, and even whales. Every piece of clothing has a specific purpose, kind of like how you might wear a jacket to stay warm and shoes to protect your feet. Take the parka, for example. It's made from seal skin, caribou fur, or even polar bear fur. These materials are built to trap heat and keep the cold at bay. The outer layer is waterproof, and the inside is lined with fur to make sure no warmth escapes. It's like a cozy little personal heater wrapped around their body. The parkas are sewn together with seal sinew, which is incredibly tough, meaning they're built to last in the harshest conditions. The hood is lined with fur, keeping the face protected from icy winds. The next key wearable is boots, but not like the ones we wear when it snows. If you ever wonder why Inuit women seem to walk with such ease in the snow, it's because of these specially designed boots that protect them from the freezing environment. Inuit women wear boots made from seal or caribou skin, lined with fur. These boots keep their feet dry and warm, even when they're walking through deep snow or frozen waters. Although Inuit clothing is designed for survival, wearing it is no joke. They're heavy, bulky, and not the most comfortable things to wear every single day. A full set of traditional winter clothing can easily weigh more than 10 to 15 pounds. That's a lot to carry around while managing daily tasks like cooking, walking across snow-covered land, or taking care of kids. And it's not just about weight. These clothes limit movement. Whether a woman is gathering supplies, sewing, preparing food, or even heading outside to help with hunting, every move takes more effort. Taking off the layers just to go to the bathroom in freezing conditions is a whole process. And during periods of pregnancy, things get even harder. There are no zippers, no stretch, and definitely no moisture-wicking fabrics. Just fur, skin, and stitching. All meant to keep you alive. Not comfortable. It works, yes, but it's far from easy. Inuit women live in a climate where this survival gear is the only option, and wearing it means sacrificing ease, comfort, and sometimes even basic mobility every single day. Inuit women don't just wear their survival gear, they make it, like from scratch. No Amazon, no Canada Goose jacket, no sewing machine, just them, some caribou skin, and skills passed down through generations. Because when the weather hits minus 71 degrees Fahrenheit, a badly stitched coat isn't just a fashion fail, it's life or death. So women prep and sew every single layer their families wear. First, after the caribou is hunted, the skin has to be removed and scraped clean. That means getting rid of all the flesh, fat, and hair. It takes hours of hand scraping, done while kneeling on the frozen ground. Then comes the softening part. Traditionally, women had to chew the hide to break it down and make it flexible enough to sew. Sometimes they'd use animal brains to help with the softening. Even after all that, women are still expected to make their clothes look good. Because Inuit clothing isn't just functional, it's also cultural. The designs and details show your community, your family, and even your relationship status. While the clothing is their first line of defense against the cold, the place they call home plays an equally important role in surviving in the Arctic. And once the outside battle is over, the cold doesn't just disappear. It follows you inside too. Back at home, whether it's a modern Arctic house or a traditional tent setup, Inuit women still have to deal with the same brutal environment, just in a different form. These homes are built for insulation, but let's be honest, when it's minus 71 degrees Fahrenheit outside, no place ever feels completely warm. The wind howls, the floors freeze, and sometimes it feels like you're just living inside a slightly warmer version of the snow itself. Traditionally, these tents, sometimes called tupik, are made from animal hides like caribou or seal, stretched tightly over a frame of bones or driftwood. Building them is a team effort, and women play a major role in the whole process, from preparing the hides to sewing them together using sinew threads to helping set up the structure. It's physical labor, and it takes skill. Nothing is factory-made. Everything is built by hand with purpose. Once it's set up, the tent becomes the heart of the home. It's small, insulated, and dark, usually lit by a kolik, which is a traditional oil lamp made from stone and fueled by seal or whale fat. This lamp is everything. It gives light, warmth, and even helps cook food. And guess who keeps it going? The woman of the house. She's constantly checking it, cleaning it, making sure it doesn't go out, because if it does, things can get dangerous fast. Inside the tent, space is super limited. You've got sleeping areas lined with fur, a small zone for food prep, and a fire or lamp in the middle. In there, women hold things down. They're not just keeping the home warm, they're keeping the whole system running. Inuit women manage everything from making clothes by hand to melting ice for water, preparing food, maintaining lamps for heat and light, and making sure the kids are protected from the cold, and they do all of this while wearing those same heavy layers. It's not like they throw on sweats and relax when they get home. The cold doesn't allow that. They cook, which means melting ice or snow for water, preparing raw meat, which is sometimes frozen solid, and keeping it all clean in a place where soap and hot water aren't exactly easy to find. They also repair clothes, tan hides, and sew new garments by hand, often while crouched over for hours. It's slow, repetitive work, but it's necessary for survival. When it comes to free time, that concept looks a little different in these environments. Women might spend downtime sewing intricate patterns into clothing, teaching children traditional stories or songs, or working on crafts that get passed down through generations. Storytelling is huge. It's how knowledge, values, and survival tips are passed on. And a lot of it happens right there inside the tent, during long, dark winters when the outside world is too brutal to face. Every time a mother teaches her daughter how to sew a parka just right or light the kolik without wasting oil, she's passing down survival. Real life, life or death kind of survival. Inuit women teach their daughters everything. Not just how to sew or melt snow for water, but how to exist in a world that's constantly demanding more from them while giving almost nothing back. They're living in two timelines at once. On one hand, there's the ancient way of life, the traditions, the knowledge, the connection to land and family. On the other hand, there's modern colonization creeping in from all directions: cities, systems, schools, laws, and Inuit women are expected to hold that fragile balance together. They're supposed to keep culture alive, speak their language, raise strong kids, adapt to modern systems, survive the weather, deal with housing crises, healthcare gaps, racism, all of it, but nothing is actually built for them. Not the cities, which are often designed by outsiders who've never lived in the Arctic cold. Not the healthcare systems, which barely reach remote areas and almost never factor in the cultural needs of Inuit families. Not even the school calendars, which don't sync with the hunting seasons that are essential for survival. The 9 to 5, the Monday to Friday, the whole Western clock thing. It doesn't work in places where it's dark for months or the sun never sets. But Inuit women are expected to just roll with it. Colonialism didn't just steal land, it hijacked womanhood. For generations, Inuit women lived with strength, purpose, and autonomy in their own way. They were hunters, healers, seamstresses, midwives, and knowledge keepers. Their clothes, their language, their family structures, all of it was tailored for Arctic life. But colonization told them it was wrong. Starting in the late 1800s and well into the 20th century, Inuit children, including girls, were taken from their families and sent to residential schools run by the Canadian government and Christian churches. These schools were designed not to educate, but to erase. Kids were punished for speaking Inuktitut. Traditional clothing was replaced with stiff uniforms. Braids were cut. Spiritual practices were banned. And for girls, they were taught that being ladylike meant being quiet, obedient, ashamed of their bodies and their background. And while colonialism came in swinging with its own version of family values, the traditional Inuit idea of marriage was already complex and honestly way more raw and survival-focused than any Western romance novel could handle. Today, Inuit marriages are still often based on the same survival instincts that guided their ancestors. It's less about falling in love and more about making sure you and your partner can survive the Arctic cold together. A couple is typically considered married once they have children, rather than through a wedding. Divorce is possible, but it rarely happens because it disrupts the family unit. Divorce is seen as a last resort, and in many cases, when a marriage isn't working, couples may exchange spouses. This isn't about infidelity or drama. It's a practical solution to ensure families remain functional and the needs of the community are met. After marriage, motherhood is the next level of responsibility, and it's intense. Giving birth in minus 71 degrees Fahrenheit might sound like something out of a survival movie, but it's still a real present-day struggle for Inuit women. Inuit women have been giving birth in freezing temperatures for centuries, and it's no different today. When an Inuit woman goes into labor, it's just her family, and the harsh, frozen world outside. No epidurals, no sterile environments, just a fire and the coldest temps imaginable. In fact, many Inuit women still give birth at home, whether it's inside their traditional igloos or modern houses, and the risks involved are high. And when a baby is born, it's not just about feeding and changing diapers. Inuit mothers also have to make sure their babies are protected from the extreme cold. Infants are swaddled in layers of fur and skin to keep their body temperature stable. While it's an incredible adaptation, the physical toll on mothers is no joke. The cold is a constant threat, and if it's not managed carefully, it can be deadly. Motherhood in the Arctic isn't for the faint of heart. Giving birth in a blizzard is one thing, but feeding that child afterward is a whole different battle. In many Arctic communities, basic baby needs like formula or baby food are either wildly overpriced or simply unavailable. So, What do Inuit mothers do? They rely on breastfeeding, which sounds simple until you remember that the woman just gave birth in sub-zero temperatures, is underfed herself, and often can't get enough calories or nutrients to maintain milk production. There's no maternity smoothie, just whatever she can scrape together, maybe dried fish, maybe frozen seal, maybe a rationed pack of rice if the last cargo shipment made it through the snowstorm. Nearly 70% of Inuit households in Nunavut experience some level of food insecurity, with women and children being the most affected. That means moms are often forced to skip meals so their kids can eat. And when kids grow older, the pressure doesn't let up. Moms still carry the weight of making sure everyone eats while mastering survival. From a young age, boys and girls are taught different skills, each one rooted in keeping the community alive. And puberty is when it starts to look like real hell for Inuit girls. See, in most modern places, getting your first period means grabbing a pad and moving on. But in the Arctic, where menstrual products can cost 3 to 5 times more and stores are limited, it's a whole different challenge. In many Inuit households, menstruation is handled quietly, often privately, but it's still deeply understood as a natural, even sacred part of life. Traditionally, when a girl gets her first period, it's seen as a moment of transformation where she steps into womanhood, often guided by her mother, grandmother, or older female relatives. There's a practice among some Inuit communities called kilaktirnik, where the onset of menstruation marks the beginning of learning how to care for others, not because of some old-school gender role, but because in a survival-based culture, every person has to know how to nurture, protect, and sustain the family. And to top that off, privacy is almost non-existent. Everyone shares the same living area. There's no personal room where you can just retreat. Instead, entire families sleep, eat, and live together in one room, sometimes separated by nothing more than a thin curtain or blanket. Especially in the past, this communal living arrangement was about survival. The harsh Arctic environment means you've got to stick together to stay warm and share resources. However, this lack of privacy also means that women's roles within the family are constantly on display. Whether it's caring for children, preparing food, or even just dealing with personal health, everything happens in front of everyone. No space to breathe. And this lack of privacy is something that even today persists in many Inuit communities, especially in remote areas where housing is overcrowded. Some homes have up to 15 people living under one roof, and the cramped quarters can feel suffocating, making it even harder for women to get any personal space. Now, privacy isn't the only thing that's in short supply. Inuit women also live under a web of cultural restrictions that shape their daily routines. For example, there are strict rules around where they can walk, what they can eat, and even how they should conduct themselves in the presence of certain sacred objects or rituals. Take the fire, for example. It is considered a sacred element. Women traditionally can't walk behind a fire as it's believed to have spiritual significance. Moving behind the fire is seen as disrespectful and can bring bad luck or even harm, according to Inuit belief systems. Eating habits are also closely monitored. Inuit women must avoid certain meats, like the heart of an animal or the blood. These taboos are tied to spiritual beliefs, where specific parts of the animal are considered too sacred to consume. Women are expected to perform regular purification rituals, like cleansing themselves after menstruation or childbirth. Back in the day, women who followed these rules helped keep their families healthy and in balance with the land. It is also emotionally and mentally taxing. While they're known for their strength, resilience, and ability to survive against all odds, the mental health challenges they face are often overlooked. The extreme cold, isolation, and societal pressures make their mental health struggles even more intense, and yet these women rarely have the support systems they need to cope. First off, let's talk about isolation. Imagine living in a place where you're surrounded by nothing but snow and ice for most of the year. The long, dark winters, often lasting months, create a sense of loneliness that's hard to escape. For Inuit women who are expected to hold everything together, the feeling of isolation is even more intense. They're often far away from other communities, with limited access to things like social events, family, or even basic communication with the outside world. The lack of social interaction can lead to feelings of depression and anxiety, making it harder to stay connected with their emotions and well-being. But it's not just physical isolation. Inuit women carry the weight of cultural preservation, as they are the ones tasked with passing down traditions and maintaining family structures. This responsibility can feel like an unspoken burden. Many women don't have time for themselves. They're always caring for their children, managing the household, or ensuring the survival of their families in such harsh conditions. There's often little time to check in with themselves mentally, and the pressure of this constant responsibility can cause deep feelings of stress and anxiety. Even with all this weight on their shoulders, Inuit women still rise. They keep their families together, they pass down their culture to the next generation, and they manage to hold it all down in one of the harshest environments on Earth. They might not get the recognition they deserve, but trust me, they're the true MVPs of the Arctic. So, when we say, why does it suck to be an Inuit woman at negative 71 degrees Fahrenheit? The answer is simple. It's the cold, the isolation, the mental toll, the constant struggle. But through all that, they're still keeping it together. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes them the strongest people on Earth. And if you've made it this far, chances are that you will like our next video as well, which is about how Inuit hunt and cook huge polar bears. Until next time, stay curious and stay warm.